Now 7 o'clock and time for the regular meeting of the Howell Township Board of Education to come to order. Roll call of the board. Mr. Garvin. Here. Dr. Jeffrey.
Here.
Dr. Lowe. Mrs. Malley.
Here.
Mrs. Mangano. Here. Mrs. Oakerson. Here. Mr. Thor.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Giovanni. A quorum is present. Shall we rise to salute the flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice cupping. Nice cupping.
Announcement by the President as read by the Secretary. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by Chapter 231, Public Law 1975 were distributed on August 28, 2019. It is now time for the recognitions. Superintendent of School and Board President, Mr. Giovanni and Mr. Isola. Sirs.
Beginning of a new school year, happy to see a number of students here for the recognitions for the TSA. We will be doing the recognitions. We will be going into exec as we typically do. We'll try to make exec as short as possible, come out and continue with the meeting, and thank you for being here tonight.
Great, and thank you, sir. Tonight's a beautiful way to kick off our school year, which we'll talk a little bit later about that, but we greeted our staff yesterday, and our students will be arriving tomorrow, and there's such great excitement, and what a better way to kick off the school year by recognizing some of our youngsters that did an outstanding job in the national TSA. I'm going to ask Ms. Engel to introduce the program and our advisors so that we can all take an opportunity to celebrate the great success.
Good evening, everyone. This summer, early in the summer, the students that are involved in the in the TSA program, which stands for the Technology Student Association Program, they competed at the national competition down in Maryland, and they competed in events that focus on principles that surround everything from technology to engineering to mathematics. They're all integrated. There are close to 30 summit events that students compete in, and they did really well. We have the advisors here this evening to recognize them, as well as the board that will be recognizing the students that placed at that event. We did very well again this year, as Howell students typically do, and we had 9 trophies that were either individual competitions or team competitions that the students brought home. The place winners range anywhere from 1st place to 12th place, and also students competed at the national level for the teams competition, which stands for the test of engineering, aptitude, math, and science. I think if I got that correct. And the students did very well there also. The students, they placed, brought home close to 4 place trophies that range from 1st to 4th place, and overall trophies of 3rd and 4th. And before we recognize the students, I'd actually like to call up Mrs. Sales. She's yes, come on up, because we are going to recognize her. If we have, do we have 2 board members that would like to come up as well? Mr. Giovanni? Mrs. Sales was recognized this year as the New Jersey TSA Chapter Advisor of the Year. So she is, I get choked up because I know how much she does. She's been with this program for, oh gosh.
When did we start?
15 years, 20 years, something of the sort. And the great thing about this recognition is this comes from students. Students are able to nominate the Advisor of the Year, as well as there are individuals at the state level that work with our chapter advisors. We're not sure who nominated Debbie, but she is the New Jersey TSA Chapter Advisor of the Year, and she was recognized down at the national conference for that. So congratulations.
Oh, there you are.
All right, so moving on to Middle School North. I'm not sure, Mrs. Sales, do you have any students here from North this evening? No, I don't. Okay. All right. So I believe we did have students from North that did place, but unfortunately they weren't able to make it this evening. Some of them have already graduated or they had other events, but congratulations to the students that did place at North. I think you had a 12th place and...
We had 14 students attend. 9 of those students who graduated, they all placed in an event. We competed in 28 out of the 33 events, so they were running all over the place from one event to another. So they were great, and we are very proud of them. The other 5 students that I had are 6th graders. So they're looking forward to a great year because they see what it's like to compete against the whole nation. And they were 6th graders competing against 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So I'm looking forward to this year. And once again, thank you all for your support. We love it. And thanks again.
And now I'll turn the mic over to Mr. Langenberger. He actually was a previous TSA Advisor of the Year for New Jersey. So, Mr. Langenberger.
Thank you.
Good evening. As we prepare on this evening for the first day that our students return, I'd like to just take a moment to reflect on the many achievements of our students from this past year. One such story, because Mr. Isola loves when I share a story. This year, I was asked by a group of students from Middle School South, alumni, to serve as their advisor at this year's TEAMS event. TEAM is the Test of Engineering Aptitude in Mathematics and Science. These students have all graduated and were freshmen at Howell High School, biotech, and even RBC. But it formed a lifetime relationship that exceeded all expectations. Because sometimes we ask, after this night, where does it lead these students? And I wanted to share a little bit of their endeavors at this time. In July, after their team's presentation, they were awarded 3rd best in nation for the 9th and 10th high school level. But when something really special happened, these freshmen were requested to provide a private presentation for Dr. Jones, a venture capitalist who had heard of their idea about cleaning and monitoring sensitive aquatic environments. Dr. Jones shared with us that NASA was investigating the same issue, and there was a potential for a partnership. We took a second meeting over the summer where 2 additional investors were brought into the conversation. Today, the team is known as Cove Solutions, and they will be registered as an LLC in Virginia, having completed their 18-page operation and organizational statement. Their goal is not only as an LLC, but rather as a Corporation B, a new type of corporation in the United States, in which their business is the sole purpose to benefit this planet. And they can make a little profit on the side as well. I have the pleasure to serve not only as their continued mentor, but I've been invited to serve as a member of their board as well. So it's quite an honor for me. Now, did I need to teach them all they needed to know? No. My goal was to provide the opportunity, inspiration, and encouragement. And with those 3 powerful tools, children can do anything. What have our students done this past July? Once again, they have placed Howell Township not just as a peg marker on a map, but rather as a star, a place where amazing achievements occur every single day. Today, it is my great privilege to share a glimpse into the achievements of those students through both TSA, Technology Student Association, and TEAMS. This year, in the TEAMS national competition, how did our students do? We, of course, did amazing, as we do every year, but this year was particularly special. Our students took 6th in the nation in coding. They took 8th place in the nation for Off the Grid, which is building a self-sustaining homestead. They took 8th place in the nation for video game design. They took 7th place in the nation for website design. They took 12th place in mechanical engineering and 1st place in junior solar sprint, a competition that's recognized by the United States Army and it spans far beyond TSA. We had the best here in Howell. And it's my privilege and honor to recognize those students here tonight, and then I'll share well, I can probably move on anyway. I'll recognize those students because many of those students were not only participating in TSA, but also teams as well. The test of engineering aptitude, mathematics, and science asks students to perform the tasks of engineers in many disciplines. Students needed to create a video advertisement in support of allowing autonomous vehicles on the roads in Howell Township. They needed to design, code, and test autonomous vehicles to navigate a course and to prepare a poster presentation of the future forecast of artificial intelligence on current technology. These are middle school students, and they represented our district with a command envious of many others. So tonight I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize those students both in TSA and teams, and when I call your name, please just join us up here. First, we'll recognize TSA, Lidu Arakel, 8th place Off the Grid, 8th place Video Game Design, 7th place Website Design. Cassidy Brennan, 8th place Video Game Design. Dante Marisi for 8th place Off the Grid. Mindy Preston, 12th place, Mechanical Engineering. Ryan Shenton, 8th place, Off the Grid. Brian Yee, 7th place, Website Design. Caitlin Zito, 1st place, Junior Solar Sprint. And give me just a moment. I know.
Kids, 2 boots.
Nick Hortonhouse, 12th place, Mechanical Engineering. John Stillwagon, 12th place, Mechanical Engineering. Kira Zimmer, 1st place, Junior Solar Sprint. Cassidy Brennan again, 2nd place prepared presentation, 4th best place, best in nation for teams. These are teams. Dante Marisi, 2nd place, design and build, 4th place prepared presentation. Look, you get another one, don't go anywhere. 3rd place, Best in Nation. 1st place, Crowd Favorite. Richie Shenton, 2nd place, Design and Build. 4th place, Prepared Presentation. 3rd place, Best in Nation. 1st place, Crowd Favorite. Ryan Shenton, come on down. 2nd place, Design and Build. 4th place, Prepared Presentation. 3rd place, Best in Nation. And 1st place, Crowd Favorite. Brian Yee, 2nd place prepared presentation, 4th place best in nation. Caitlin, second place prepared presentation, fourth place best in nation. Paperclip trap here. Bear with me for just a moment. Miss anyone? I think that might be everyone. Do we think we have everyone? Look in the audience. Is there anyone left? No? Yeah. Okay, I think that's everyone. All right, I think that's everybody. Okay, great.
Mr. Langenbrunner, I have a question real quick for the students. Not everybody, but somebody give me an answer. Every year, you guys go off to competitions, come back with first, second, and third places in the nation. What is it when you see the other students that set you apart? What is it about what you're bringing to the competition that makes you guys do as well as you do year after year? Go ahead.
I would definitely say, especially for my team, I'm sure Cassidy's team, it's that it's just something that we like to do, and it's something that we look forward to doing. I'm sure I'm excited to do it next year, and so is Cassidy. So it's definitely the drive to do it, and I guess have fun doing it.
And you were going to say something also.
I was gonna say that we're the ones that seeked out TSA instead of TSA coming to us. We decided we wanted to go for it.
Thank you. You just make us look good year after year. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Come on, squeeze together. There you go. She's got it, yeah. You don't have to move it. It's okay.
First in the nation in pictures.
Oh, wait. Let me get out of the way.
Where's the one on wheels?
You know to pull that motion. 30.
We're going to pull? I'll pull when I get back. And it is now time for the board to enter into executive session. Can we have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
The board will be in executive session. Please note the motion printed in the agenda for executive session. The topics this evening will be the HIB report and facilities contract negotiation. Thank you.
Mr. Sanisak, it's not a pull. It's Mr. Miller's requesting that gets pulled to exec.
Oh, I apologize.
Yes.
Okay. 3013, and another topic for exec will be 3013 on the agenda this evening. To the dais, please note, although the executive session minutes are still on, we are pulling the regular agenda minutes, so the only minutes this evening are the executive session that were just reviewed. If we could have a motion for that, sir?
Moved.
Who was that? I'm sorry. Moved by Dr. Jeffrey, second by Ms. Oakerson. May I take that around?
Please.
Dr. Jeffrey,
Yes.
Mrs. Oakerson,
Yes.
Mr. Gurman.
Yes.
Dr. Lowe. Mrs. Malley?
Yes.
Mrs. Mangano? Abstain, thank you. Mr. Thor?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes are approved, 8 votes in favor with the abstention noted for the record. The correspondence that the board has received will be noted for the record. It is now time for the board president comments. President of the board, Mr. Mark Bongiovanni, your comments, sir.
Thank you. It's probably the first time I've ever done this, but I wrote down my comments just because I do have a lot and I didn't want to miss anything. First off, welcome to a new school year. I really want to thank all the staff, and I mean all of the staff, who've worked so hard at preparing the schools for this upcoming year. We know that the start of a school year is always a very heavy lift. This one was certainly no different. Adding staff, dealing with new curriculum, the power loss in July this year was pretty tough, and thank you for having the schools ready. A few things I'd like to suggest to any of the parents who are in the audience. As I've often said, you can attend meetings. If you can attend meetings, that's great. We really like nothing better than to look up and see the community come into our meetings. If you can't attend, if you can't get out a particular night, we also live stream the meetings, so it's an opportunity to watch the meeting from home. The meetings are also recorded, and they're available at any time to go back and either look at the most current meeting or the ones over the last couple of months or years. But seeing the meeting yourself is really always the best way to find out accurate information. Minutes are posted after we approve the minutes at the meeting. They're up there, so you can go back and look at the minutes if you don't really care to watch the video. And each meeting has 2 public commented segments, one near the beginning of the meeting and one at the end. It's the board's meeting, and we do need to conduct business, but we do encourage the community to attend. We encourage the community to attend not just our board meetings, but even our committee meetings. We're recognized as the only district in the state that does that, and invites citizens in to participate and be on committees, and to make sure that we advertise those agendas so that they can come. You have a legal right to see how we conduct our business, so that's why most of the business is done here at the table. It's a new year, and maybe it's a new school for you. My suggestion is get involved in your child's school, especially if it's a new one for you. PTO membership is a great idea. PTO presidents meet with the superintendent every month. There's typically a board representative also present. It's a great way to get information and to be able to ask questions. One of the actions that the board took last year was to make sure we published, and we talked about it at a meeting, we put it up on the board, the chain of command. If you have issues with something going on in a class, really the appropriate thing is to talk to your teacher first. If not satisfaction with the teacher, go to the principal. I hope you would agree, and it's certainly our belief, that there is no more caring, dedicated, wonderful staff than the staff here in Howell Township. After that, if you were to have a situation you don't have satisfaction with any of those paths, certainly Mr. Isola, as the superintendent, very comfortable in saying that I guarantee that if you call him about something, he'll always get back to you. There are some issues that become administrative and not really something for the teacher or the principal, not the school. Bus stops seem to be a hot topic right now. The correct person there to contact would be Mr. Sanasak. I want you to know that each case is looked at individually, and in fact, a few modifications have already been made. The changes that were made are the results, the changes overall, not these modifications, but the changes that have been made are the result of over 2 years' worth of planning and discussions. Plans that have been discussed both at the committee level and also here at the board table. Safety is always the entire board's concern, and those minutes, again, are available online if anybody were to go back and search to see about the discussions that have taken place over the last couple years. One last thing, I mentioned there's been a lot of work to prepare for this year. Again, thanks to the very diligent work of administration, Mr. Sanasak's office, the board, in particular the operations committee, which is comprised of board members and also citizen members, as I mentioned. The big change is that you're going to see that in this upcoming year now, all of the classrooms in all of the schools are now air conditioned. This helps both students and staff. This happened through the state's ESIP program, Energy Saving Incentive Program. It involved adding the solar panels with no impact, no increase on the tax structure due to that program. So the air conditioning did not affect the taxes in any way. It was a write-off based on the program we had going with the state. Again, good luck to all the students, to all the staff for this upcoming year. We wish each a safe, happy, and successful year. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, sir. It's now time for the superintendent's report. Superintendent of School, Mr. Isola, your report, sir.
Thank you, sir, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to our meeting just prior to our kickoff with students. This past Tuesday, the day after Labor Day, we welcomed back our staff, and as Mr. Giovanni mentioned, there were so many projects going on throughout the summer, from the air conditioning that you spoke about, and is so worthy of celebration, quite frankly, to parking lots being paved and chillers being replaced. The summer was moving quite quickly. The power outage certainly was a setback, and while I had confidence all along, I must be honest, when I walked into buildings over the last 2 days to visit staff and welcome them back, it was such a sense of relief. The cavalry had arrived. Our staff was here. They were prepping rooms. It became normal again. And it was so great to see so many smiling faces and eager folks ready to receive children just less than a few hours away now. So tomorrow morning, students will exit their homes, get onto buses, and arrive to their schools and get off. Some in new buildings, like you mentioned, and there'll be some anxieties. Our staff is prepared to deal with those. They know how to deal with that. There'll be kids skipping down the walk to get to school. There'll be excitement. There'll be a certain buzz in the air that only September could bring. I still feel like a little kid each and every first day of the school year. Dr. Jeffrey and I were speaking about that just before the meeting tonight, about the feeling on a college campus. It's the same excitement, but we'll see who has their new
Sorry to
sneakers.
interrupt. It's kind of like, where did all these people come from?
That's right. Here they are, right? So it's an exciting day tomorrow, and I look so forward to greeting students across our district. We talked a lot about the improvements that have happened throughout this school district. Congratulations to Mr. Sanisak, our Assistant Super for Business, who oversees our facilities and operations, and certainly to Mike Coolidge and the fine folks that work at B&G for getting these buildings as sparkling as they are. I was at our Dina school today. The teachers thought the building was painted. It had just been cleaned and scrubbed and made pretty for them and the students. It was awesome, the work that went into the facilities this summer. So congratulations to my colleague. There are a lot of things happening around education today, but I must tell you, and I stood before this board for over a year now, saying that my focus and the thing that I really value and think we have to move forward as schools throughout our nation is the recognition of wellness and the importance of wellness for students and for staff and for colleagues and for families. And that doesn't happen because you say it. It takes deliberate action. And some of the things that we're doing, I'm going to ask Ms. Fernandez to step to the podium just a second and highlight some of the things that we are putting into place in this upcoming year. So, Ms. Fernandez, if you'd be so kind, our new Director of Pupil Services, who will partner with me and head up a lot of these particular projects.
There we go. Good evening. So as Mr. Isola said, we have bright, shiny floors, cool buildings, and our students will be returning tomorrow. Much of the efforts that we have had in the Pupil Services Department over the last couple months, while students have not been with us full-time, have been ensuring that we have programs to support all of our students across the district. So in efforts to support wellness with our staff and our students, I'd just like to spend a few minutes updating you on some of the new and exciting programs that we have coming into play this year. So first, we did post for a wellness committee. So we have staff members and many staff members who have applied to be a part of the committee. Within the posting, Mrs. Doyle, our vice principal at Adelphia School and supervisor of guidance and nursing, is working with myself and Mr. Isola to ensure that we select a broad base of candidates from our paraprofessionals to our teaching staff to begin work on really defining what wellness is and social emotional learning is for our district. So we are formulating a committee. While there is lots of work going on as we speak, we do want to, like most other things in the district, have a uniform definition and understanding of what that means across our buildings, and then also how that differs from our pre-K students through our 8th grade students, because social emotional learning is going to look different in a K-2 building versus a middle school. So we're excited about that work. Now that we have staff back on full time, we will be selecting members of that committee and then meeting at the end of September to launch that work. So there is definitely more to come on this, and I'm certain that the members of those committee will be sharing their efforts with you at some point during the school year. So that is number one. In addition, we have been launching the Effective School Solutions Program. As you are aware of, we adopted at the beginning of this summer. We are in full force with staff in place at Middle School South. They have had their furniture delivered and they have been furnishing the room. We have, from what I understand, Middle School South teachers that are looking to make that their space. We have told them that it is student space and that it is not theirs. But we're very excited. The staff has been in place beginning the assessment process and have identified students that will be really starting the program tomorrow. That will continue to evolve as the year goes on, and we're really very happy that that will be making a significant difference in some students' lives who really need that clinical therapeutic intervention that we are unable to provide on a school level. So we're very excited about that. The staff has been wonderful in partnering with our staff. They did training at Middle School South today, so the staff had a good understanding of what the program is about, and let them know the ground rules, that is not their space. It's not the faculty room, that it is really there for the kids. But it looks great. Everybody wants to be in there. Our biggest issue is that it's probably going to be the popular spot to be in because it looks great. And the kids are really going to like the ESS staff. So in addition, we have been pursuing an opportunity with Mallory's Army to have them come in and speak to our middle school students and parents. So we are pursuing the process that they have in place on their website at this point to see if we may be able to get them in place so that we are able to get some information to our students firsthand. If anyone is unfamiliar with Mallory's Army, it is a mom who had the unfortunate circumstance of her daughter taking her own life due to some significant bullying that occurred within her school. And there is a website. It is certainly something that you can look at. There is a very pointed, moving, emotional video that is on the website that really explains the program. We have reached out to some neighboring districts who have also invited them to come in and spoken to them about some of the positive effects that program has had directly on students. So that is something that we are hoping to bring into district this year, as long as we can coordinate schedules between our middle school and the organization. So that is something else that we are very excited about. We also have two other programs that you, I'm sure, have heard about. Lifelines, which is our traumatic loss and suicide training that our staff underwent throughout the course of last school year. We completed really the final phase of that training today at both middle schools. They were, all staff members were given the final portion of the training and procedures and protocols that will be in place in terms of the referral process for that. So our staff is readily equipped. Hopefully will not need to utilize that information. You know, these are the kinds of things that we ready ourselves and prepare our staff with, but hope that we'll never have to use. And last but not least, we did approve, I believe at the last board meeting, the board graciously approved for us the contract with the YMCA, which they are offering to us free clinical services in 3 of our buildings. Gribling, Memorial, and Aldridge are going to have 1 day a week a clinical counselor from the YMCA. We are in the process of finalizing their occupancy in the buildings, and then we'll be launching that counseling as a wraparound program for identified students as well. So lots of good things going on in the Pupil Services Department, more to come, and we're very excited to ensure that when we open the doors tomorrow that our students, our staff and our students are readily prepared for anything that may come. In our belief, and you know, this is a conversation that I had with a parent yesterday, our job is to ensure that our students are equipped with the skills and strategies to be able to encounter issues as they come. We can't make issues go away. That's part of life. But if we can equip them with the skills and a toolbox to go to when things happen, we can build that resiliency that we're looking for in students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez. And continuing with that, I would like just two more announcements. On October 3rd at Brookdale Community College, we will be a partner with a organization that was born from the Monmouth County Superintendent's Roundtable. We've called ourselves the Monmouth County Partnership, School Partnership for Wellness. We'll be holding our first ever mental wellness symposium. There'll be speakers from a wide range of topics. We are meeting, I believe, on the September 12th to finalize the speakers and to make the final announcements about that. But if we can have our community, it's going to be open for parents. There'll be topics on how to deal with social media, vaping, suicide, of course, addiction, and everything that comes with it, school anxiety, all those topics that make school challenging or that we see our students faced with throughout the school day. And, you know, there's a thought process out there, and it's just wrong. And I want to be very clear about it, that those issues are high school issues. They're not. They're not. They're in middle schools, and they are working their way down to lower grades. Children are facing anxieties and fears that we didn't deal with as children, my generation. It was just a different environment. It was a different, there wasn't social media. When you had a dispute, when the dispute ended, the conflict ended. Now kids go home and it continues on social media, and that's impacting, we're seeing an impact on those kids. So this is an evening event. The doors, I believe, are going to open at 6:30. We'll do a lot of advertisement. Letters will go home. It'll be pushed into your inboxes. We encourage the parents of Howell Township to be front and center. I think it's going to be a truly informative evening, and we're putting a lot of work into it because we believe communities in Monmouth County deserve the support and the resources so that they can partner with schools and with agencies to help kids that could be in crisis. And trust me, it's not your neighbor's kid. It could be your kid. So you got to be prepared, and you have to, get as much information and education around this topic as possible.
Mr. Isola, excuse me one second. Do you anticipate that parents or the community members will have to pre-register for that, or
Yeah,
just show up?
so again, at that same meeting, not our final meeting, but one of our concluding steering meetings on the 12th, we'll be finalizing that process. It'll be an email that each district will push out. Parents then will click to register. It's limited to about 450 participants. So I hope that Howell has 100 parents there. That would be great because, we did a lot of the heavy lifting. And I just think that the more we can help our community, the better. So we'll be pushing that out and communicating about that a lot over the first month of school for sure. So stay tuned for that. And then finally, we had the Howell Township Education Foundation held their monthly meeting last night, and the Race to Educate Committee met. Really exciting news. This year's race is going to be a fall race. It's or event. We call it a race. It's a 5K. It'll be November 2nd, which is a Saturday. And this year, it's not going to be at one of the schools. It's actually going to be at the reservoir right here in the beautiful backdrop that provides. It should be a great day. They've invited PTO and PTA presidents to assign a liaison or to appoint a liaison to serve on the committee from each of the schools. So it's really some good excitement about that, and there'll be more information coming out about that. That's where the foundation raises most of their money in terms of providing grants to our schools to benefit children. So it's really a lot of work that's worthy of our participation. With that, sir, my report is concluded this evening.
Thank you. And on this eve of opening up, I'd be remiss if I didn't echo your sentiments to the entire staff that worked through a long and very short, unfortunately, and difficult summer. We had some planned projects and some unplanned ones, and they did a yeoman's job. The building staff could not have been more cooperative. They were getting their academic things ready while we were getting the buildings ready. Everybody's going to return to climate-controlled classrooms if they weren't last year. Still under a little bit of tweaking, but working well. And thank you to all the staff that participated. Looking forward to transportation tomorrow. Everyone will know that they want a hug and a kiss and a picture and a few tears at the bus stop. So the routes will probably be a little longer than normal, but our staff and our administrative staff pitching in will make sure that it all works out. So thank you to everybody for getting ready, and send the babies in. Thank you. It is now time for the public comment. May I, sir?
Please.
Whereas the Howell Township Board of Education determines that the comments from the public may last 45 minutes, and those comments will be conducted in accordance with its bylaw 0164.1, and individuals may be limited to 3 minutes each. The officer with respect to time and decorum will be the president of the board, Mr. Giovanni. With your permission, sir, may the floor be open for comment.
Please, if you have any comments, please approach the mic.
Other comments at this time?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm a parent of Verdana Howell, and according to you, you addressed today that there was some bus stop issues.
I'm sorry, we need your name and your address, please.
Okay, my name is Shaquana Tolbert. My address is 603 Salerno Way, Howell, New Jersey. That's Verdana Howell community.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm here in regards to the new unfortunate changes in our bus schedules. I have several concerns in regards to the changes. I am one of the many parents that has concerns. Today you mentioned that the priority of the board is the protection of our children. So I'm here today to discuss that the location you put our children is not safe, and it's a hazardous situation for us and our children. I would like to give out pictures today for you to see the location that you have our kids. You have us going through a fire zone emergency location to get to the bus stop. Us at Verdana Howell, we reside on Route 9. Some parents have no transportation. Some parents do have transportation. Those with transportation is going to be blocked off because it's a one-way in. There's no sidewalks, there's glass, there's no lighting. There's wildlife deer that stands there, and it's gonna be about 25 to 30 little children walking in the street without a sidewalk, and it's not safe for our children at all. I spoke with Mr. Sanasak, and according to his email, he stated that there was 2 terms of why our route was changed. First, he informed us that the route was changed due to unable to be accessed to the gate. Well, I have a notation that went around our community, and our management agreed to have that gate open at 6 a.m. in the morning, and that gate was to be closed by 5:30, which would permit any buses will permit the buses to get into the gate without any problems. He also stated that there was blockage of cars being blocked, but as you see this U, right? You see this U, this format. There's an entry here, there's an entry here in our parking lot. From these 2 entries, you can come in and out. There was never a blockage of any other buses ever getting into our development. There's still buses that's gonna be coming into our development, picking up other children from their door to door. So if those 2 issues was the main issues of our bus is not getting in? Why is there still buses that's going to be picking up other kids? We have people that is going to be impacted by these bus changes. We have some people that have to be at one place with one child at their door, and another person has to be at the bus stop, which conflicts. Now we're going to have children come to school late every day because we're trying to accommodate to meet two places at one time. I would like you to take a look at these pictures. We took pictures of the, another thing we were told, that he came to our development and he spoke with management, and he asked management, is there gonna be a plow? Well, unfortunately, at Verdana House, there's not a lot of places that they can put the snow when the weather is bad. And unfortunately, when the weather is bad, they put the snow right where you're gonna have our kids walking through the woods. It's not gonna be accessible for us to get to that location. So if you're having our children best interests at heart, I ask you to take your time and just think about this. We had no notice. I can see if we had a notice in advance, maybe we could have tried to put our kids in aftercare or before care, something. We checked our portals, and then everyone is frantic. Where's Conover Street? You still have parents that don't even know where their kids gotta go tomorrow. We've been riding, knocking on doors, telling people, you know, your kid's gonna have to go through these woods. It's bad. It's a bad situation. I would like you to look at these pictures.
Actually, if you could just leave the pictures with Mr. Sanisak, they'll get distributed to the entire board. And I know you've had conversation with Mr. Sanisak. I would ask him to continue to have conversation with you and the development, see what can be worked out. Each one will be looked at separately, and we'll continue to look at the situation.
There's a whole bunch of other parents here today that's from Verdana Howe that has the same complaints as us. And this is the letter from management, basically that gave the resolution to his issue. His issue was he couldn't get into the gate. They were able to accommodate and make sure that that gate is open so our children can get where they need to be safe.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Sanisak, I'm sure we'll be getting back to you on this. Sure. Sure, if you want to look at the pictures now.
Additional comments?
Yeah, I said, oh, okay.
I'm asking for the pictures because I personally have been approached by multiple parents regarding this stuff. I did drive through it myself to see what it was. I wouldn't put my child on that bus stop. It's not, it's just not. With the complex letter saying that the bus stops will have no problem getting into the development, I don't see why all of a sudden it's an issue, if they didn't have the issue before. But like I said, I've driven out to this, that's why I see the pictures that they have. It's an awful long walk, there's a long gate involved in this. There's emergency vehicle, there's a building with fire access codes on it. I don't know what that building is. It's just a long walk.
Okay, well, he'll continue to have conversations with the development. Yes, sir.
Yes, hi, committee. My name is Stephen Vinci. I live at 605 Salerno Way in Howell. I'm also a part of the Verdana community. I have to say I'm ill-prepared because of the short notice that we have gotten about this change in the bus matter. I personally think it's outrageous that the day before, a committee member here, I don't know the gentleman's name, showed up at our community unannounced to us and talked to management there and basically forced them into some things that I thought were kind of like pressuring them to say certain things, which they since retracted from and sent out an email today saying that in no way did they have any way that they would prevent the Howell transportation to come into our community and pick up the students. I don't think that whoever made this decision was went through that route like this lady did, and I commend you for doing that. That's a proactive approach, and I think it's something more that should be made from the committee members, is to actually go out and see what's going to be impacted rather than just ruling on something. First off, let me say that you're dealing with 25 children under the age of 12 years old that are going to be leaving our community. They're going to be leaving our property, just so that you're all aware of this, the dangerous situation that we were put in. As my neighbor had said so well, our community is like a horseshoe. What they're asking us to do is go into the backwoods where there are no sidewalks, no lighting, where management said we are not plowing that road. We can't guarantee that we're going to clear the path for the kids. If we do it, we do it. If we don't, we don't. We're not responsible for it. But yet, we agreed that that's fine to put our kids in harm's way. As you said, Mr. Chairman, the main thing is the welfare of the children. I find that very hard to believe, the way I'm standing here listening, and what I have to go through for my daughter now in regards to your concerns.
As I said, Mr. Sanisak will be in touch with the development and look at the plans again, see what can be worked out.
Right, but I could
We
only
will be
address the
looking.
head of the committee for this. I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
I could only address the head of the committee for this, and which is you. And you said that the main thing is the welfare of the children. Well, that's not true in this case. Because if you were there, like this young lady did, you would say, no, this isn't going on tomorrow. It's just not happening. I'm not putting the Howell children in harm's way. No way. Because as I said, they're leaving the property. They're going out on a Connor Street, which is a public road that does not even have a cul-de-sac for a bus to turn around. They're going to have to do some kind of three-point turn, let alone this place is within 200 yards of the Wawa entrance. Now, you picture 25 kids getting off a bus. Do you think some of them eventually going to make that way to Wawa before they go home? I hope to God that does not happen, because you're not going to want to see me standing here that day. So I really implore you to look into this and not just push it aside. Really. I really wish you guys would go out there and see what the kids have to do. Again, these are not high school children. They're under the age of 12 years old. I have a neighbor who has a 10-year-old son who's got to endure this, who's frightened enough to come to a middle school, let alone deal with this bus stop. Thank you for your time.
Sure, thank you.
Hello. My name is Jessica Velstra. I live at 2202 Salerno Way in Verdana. I'm the one that took the pictures. I'm also one of the few parents that absolutely walk their kids to school every day. And I stay at the bus stop with the kids whose parents have to leave to go to work, because we have a lot of working people in our neighborhood. I have to walk down a dark street with 10 kids under the age of 11 now because they don't want to walk by themselves and their parents can't drive them. Before, they would walk together in a group up the street, up the sidewalk, to the clubhouse, and their parents would know that they would be safe there. And now I have to worry about dodging cars in the dark of the parents that are going to try and drive down Conover Street, turn around, and come back on a street with no sidewalks and barely any light. There's a black picture, there's two black pictures at the end of that file there. That was taken less than half an hour after the sun went down the other day. One is taken showing the access to that fire gate, and the other one is a picture of what it looked like up the street. This is exactly how dark it is going to be when I have to walk up that street with 10 kids under the age of 11. I am afraid that we are going to get run over by a car. The road is not safe, and White Street is not any more safe. We just had a guy that got run over behind our thing and killed and dragged to his death. A 19-year-old man. right outside of that. And a bunch of the kids saw all the emergency vehicles and went and saw the rescue efforts and everything else. They know what it means to get hit by a car. This is a bunch of little kids that are going to be standing on the corner of a fast street and a dark street with no sidewalks. There's already glass and tire marks going across the place where my kids are supposed to stand from an accident that happened recently. I really hope that you will reconsider it. There is no way that this is safe. And a lot of the other parents that I talked to that knew about this could not believe that this was going on. And a bunch of the parents didn't even know about it last night when I went to go and make sure that they knew. And I'm sure tomorrow morning when I'm going to the bus stop, I'm going to have to tell a bunch of the parents that are going to be waiting for the bus in the old bus stop, hey, wait a minute, no, you have to go out onto Route 9, pass by Wawa, make a right, pass by Wawa again, and go up to this dead-end street, turn around and drop your 6-year-old off somehow. And that's where they expect us to take the kids. The high school kids don't get brought there by their parents. They walk themselves because they're high school kids. I'm not talking about high school kids. We have 10 7-year-olds in our neighborhood alone. And we all know each other. They all go to the same school. I am honestly, sincerely concerned that one of us is going to get run over. And if one of the kids, if a car is coming at the kids, I'm the one that's going to get run over. Because I won't let them get run over.
I understand.
You are endangering us. You are putting us in a dangerous situation, and it is very upsetting. And I really hope that you will reconsider this. Thank you.
Additional comments?
Can I make a comment real quick?
Sure.
This goes back to what we were talking about last meeting, and I know it took up a lot of time on this topic. These were the concerns that I knew were going to come out because we did not let the community know that this was going to be a topic for conversation. This is why I voted no on this last time.
Mr. Thor, we have somebody at the podium.
I'd just like to finish. This is why going forward, I implore this board that when we have a topic that we feel the community has expressive interest in, we need to publicize it. We cannot be surprising people.
Hello. My name is Marnie Kaiser, 3 Coddington Court in Howell. My son goes to Taunton. He's 7 years old. You guys had changed the stop from inside our cul-de-sac on Coddington to the corner of Coddington and Aldrich. Aldrich is a very busy street. My mom lives with me. She has liver cancer, breast cancer. She was just diagnosed with lung cancer last month. I go to work. She is the one that actually opens the door. She can't leave the house. She watches my son walk out of the door onto the bus. And then when he gets home, she opens the door and watches him come back in the house. Now, he's only 7. She can't leave the house. He has to walk by himself to the corner of Coddington and Aldrich. She can't see him anymore because there's trees and bushes in the way. I have no other choice. I was rather, just to let him walk by himself while I go to work. I'm asking you to reconsider. At least they're on a van. The kids that come onto the get on from Coddington. There are numerous kids. If I had to guess, maybe 5 or 6. Not every child gets on the bus in the morning. Not every child gets off the bus. Actually, my son, there might be one other child, maybe 2 times a week that gets off the bus with him. Other than that, my son is the only one that gets off the bus in the afternoon. So now my mother has to sit in the house wondering when he's going to be walking down our street to our house where she can actually see him. And I'm just concerned. He's only 7. He has to stand by himself at the corner sometimes. Sometimes there's other kids, sometimes they're not. But he's only 7. Aldrich is a very busy road. You know, I have no one else to walk him to the bus or get him off the bus. And I'm asking you to consider changing the stop back, you know, for the bus to come back onto Coddington Court. We're on a cul-de-sac, but the kids are on a van, and there's plenty of room to drive down the cul-de-sac and turn around, you know, and exit back onto Aldrich. And I'm just asking you to reconsider changing the stop. And I know the other parents would be very happy, and I'm apparently the only one, you know, here to represent Coddington Court, but I'm really here to represent my son. I'm here for my son, and I'm asking you to reconsider.
Thank you.
Additional comments? Seeing none, sir, may the comments be closed?
Please.
It is now time for committee updates and liaison reports. Mr. President?
I don't believe that any committees have met, so I'll start from my right. Ms. Mangano, anything?
The safety has to be priority. Putting kids in danger on dark streets, in walking different stops, anxious, nervous, parents worrying about the kids missing the bus, parents worried about how are they going to get off the bus in the afternoon without. We're not a babysitting service. Nobody's asking for that. But we have to make sure that they're safe. So when they're with us, we have to make that sure that that's a priority for us. We have to move these stops. I mean, I wasn't here when this vote went down. So are vans not allowed in cul-de-sacs anymore as well? Is that how it's working?
Stanisek?
The parameters that have been worked in over the past 3 years have evolved to the point where the goal that was in the minutes and announced was to not have cul-de-sacs entered. There's a number of different reasons. I use the landscape trailer as an example. We've had to have police out to back buses up, and the cul-de-sacs are an issue, as well as it creates a scenario where on the way in, they're passing the houses, and on the way out, they're all being stopped, and we've had occasions when the buses were late or that we didn't have enough time to fill the bus so that a bus would be moving with 30. There was also some concern about it's a bigger picture than just the stops. Concern at the Operations Committee raised by a citizen about the emissions from the buses and the idling time and different things like that. Commuters being stuck behind buses that are making multiple stops, things like that. So as it progressed, it did, you know, last year we moved out of probably about 35% of the cul-de-sacs, and then this year was the goal that was announced was to be out of the cul-de-sacs, and that's the direction that we followed. Sometimes a van can turn around, even sometimes a large bus can turn around, but it creates a scenario where there is that opportunity for a delay so that the entire busload is late for school. Those are the things that we balance. We take safety very, very seriously. I understand that there are people saying that's in doubt right now, but all those things are looked at. I did evaluate the stops. I asked our town partners to pick up the brush on Conover as one of the things that you see in the pictures, and they did that. They're aware that is designated stop at this time, and they have indicated that it will be plowed and that Verdana has an obligation to plow that emergency access. So we have implemented the direction with faith and integrity, and we will continue to do so. But the direction was to not be in cul-de-sacs. There are, as one of the speakers said, there are always those runs where the identification of the student has it in their documents for it to have a house stop, and that will always continue. That is never part of the reduction. So there are times when a van will go into cul-de-sacs for those specific reasons. But that is a little bit different type of transportation. I think the board is aware of that.
So my concern with that stop still remains. I mean, I was down the block. It's not a good stop. And I mean, you guys have to look at it, everybody, and it's respectful to my other board members. I'm being very respectful in this, that you have to go down there and just take a look for yourselves. It's just, it doesn't sit well with me. I mean, we can't accommodate every child in the district. We can't do that, but this is a bigger development, and they, you know, it needs to, you know, how can we say, put the kids on the street, there's glass, there's garbage, there's no lights, it's dark, parents can't get down the street, there's a big fence out there, it's no sidewalk, it's just not.
We'll look at it again.
It really needs to be looked at again, it really does. And the other issue with the cul-de-sacs and the vans, those maybe have to be taken into consideration. I mean, you know, not everything can be black and white. Not everything can be just, we're not going down cul-de-sac, sorry. We're not going down this, we're not sorry. It just has to be more than black and white. This is too black and white. My kids are around the corner, they're in middle school. I'm fine with that. If my son was 7 or 8, it might be a little different. I just think, I'm not happy with it. That's my honest opinion.
Okay.
Okay. Ira said also when we were talking about this topic as being a hot topic, like our redistricting. This is a big problem for a lot of people, not only because it is unsafe, it causes a lot of problems for people with aftercare before and after care, babysitters, it's gonna cost people money, transportation issues. So I think when we're going forward on our agenda, we have to make sure that this is out there more and maybe, you know, discussed differently. Social media is the new way of communication, whether we like it or not. Everybody's on social media. Not everybody. Most of the people are on social media. That's where they're learning all their information. People wouldn't have known if it wasn't on social media. They're not coming to the board meetings. They're busy. I've gotten some people telling me they're not coming to these meetings because they feel unheard. That bothers me because I'm here to listen. That's what we're all here to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if they're saying they don't want to come because we're not listening, that should bother all of us because we need to listen. And although we may not be able to accommodate everybody, we still have to take this stuff into consideration. You know, it's just not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. And that's it.
Ms. Oakerson. Dr. Jeffrey.
I just do want to thank everybody for coming out and speaking, and I am disturbed to hear that people don't come because they're not heard. As a new board member this year, I've been quite disturbed by the fact that public comment there's no public comment. And I don't know whether that's because people don't want to come out or because people think they're not heard or because the announcements aren't clear. But this is citizen government, and we are here. We represent you. You voted us in, and we need to make sure that you're happy with all the decisions that we make. So thank you all for coming.
Mr. Miller.
The Finance Committee has not met, but I do encourage everyone to come out to not only our board meetings, but our committee meetings. That's where it's all going to start. we all make a decision here at the board table, but all our meetings are posted online. We really need you to come out to our committee meeting, open to the public. We have citizen members that sit on it. Every January, we ask for new citizens to come on. Get involved, get on those committees. Your voices are heard. Mr. Thor runs our community interaction meeting. We really need your voices to be heard. Otherwise, we are sitting here wondering what the community wants. And it's only when you come out and you speak to us that we hear your voices and we get to hear what you want. Tonight, we are finally hearing the voices, but we really wish more people would come out. Because even though there's some people that are not happy, we've also received people that are happy. So we get both sides of it. And it is hard for us to make, sometimes decisions sitting here on what the community really wants. So we really do need your input. That's all I have to say.
Mrs. Malley.
Operations has not met since our last meeting. As far as this process has been going on and been discussed publicly for the last 3 school years. And it's a very difficult process. We have a committee of 3 board members and 3 citizen members, and every voice matters in that committee structure. The citizen members' voice and their comments count as importantly as the board members' comments. And so if the public were to come and voice they would be heard, they would be listened to as well. It's something that we have to do. We have to try our best to look out for all of the students, and basically the direction that we've been focusing on is keeping it sustainable. And house stops or being visible from everyone's front stoop is not sustainable, but safety is always, always a priority. And that's why we encourage you, if there is a safety concern, and like you did tonight, bringing it to our attention is very important. You need to do that as citizens of the town. You need to bring that to our attention. And I know that it will be addressed or looked at more thoroughly. I myself have been to the area. I visited the area myself. So I need to go inside the development and see from coming through. But I was on the street and I was looking. And so I feel like I need to hear from the parents, and that's an important voice. So thank you for coming.
Mr. Thor.
Community interaction has not met. We will meet the last week of September, and we will have that date announced. Have to announce it next week, so we will announce that next week. First of all, I want to thank all of our citizens who came out tonight. This is what a lot of us have been talking about for a while, that we want members of our community out here. Let us know what you think. I'd like to touch on a couple things real quick. Number one, and I've had the opportunity to talk a little bit with some of our board members offline about just some of my thoughts, and I'm not going to go into those conversations because they're private. However, I think that we as a board need to do a better job of, when there is a topic that we feel the community has an interest in, of specifying what this is. Nobody knew, and I understand that this has been a topic, the transportation with operations. Nobody knows what's on the operations committee budget, operations committee agenda. People aren't reading the operations agenda. They're not. I'm sorry. Unless you're on the committee, they're not looking at it. They're not looking at the community interaction. They're not looking at the finance. They're not looking at the agendas, because people have lives. If there is a topic that we feel, we're smart. 9 of us are smart. We have our pulse on this community. We have to do a better job of realizing, all right, this is a topic that a lot of people are going to have expressed interest in. We need to let people know whether, and Ms. Mangano mentioned social media, like it or not, and listen, I think sometimes people do hide behind social media. Thankfully, people have been coming out tonight. That's a great thing. It's a great step. But people will express themselves on social media. They need to be listened to. We need to let people know what's going on. If there is a topic such as this that is being discussed, we have to let people know. Most people are blindsided. That cannot happen. We cannot be doing that to the community. I voted no because of a lot of the topics we talked about at the last meeting. I feel that if we had talked about this, and let people know this was going to be a discussion topic, Today you had maybe 20, 30 people out. You would have had quite a bit more than that. Even in the month of August, you would have had people out because this affects people. We heard about the Verdana community. This is not the only community in how this impacts. There's a lot of communities. If I'm a parent, and I went, after I was also contacted by a few parents as well, I went and looked at the community. I wouldn't let my kids walk there. Absolutely not. And there's other communities like this in this town. I personally would like to see a map of where the new stops are, because there may be a few that I'd like to also go see myself. Maybe none need to be changed. Maybe enough has been changed with this efficiency plan to make it sustainable. Great goal. I hope we can achieve that, but not at the cost of safety. I think that there's going to be other topics in the future. Our agendas are too vague. We cannot be hiding, and I don't want to say hiding because it sounds deceitful, and that's not what I'm trying to imply. But we need to do a much better job of having a robust agenda, let people know specifically what is being talked about, and not having it come out a day or two before. We need to give people some notice. Myself, and I've talked about this at the last meeting, myself as a board member, I tried to read the agenda a few days before. I tried to read the committee reports when I received them. Do I read every committee report? I'd be lying if I said I did. There's some I missed just because of myself having a busy life and work schedule. But if I get it, I'm going to read it the majority of the time. And there's a lot of times I'm not even given that opportunity as a board member. As a board member, I need to know what's going on. I'm going to miss stuff, and when I do, I apologize if I say something that's out of line. But there are times where I'm blindsided because I'm not receiving information myself, and that can't happen. So I implore this board that when we have future topics that there is a vested interest in this community knowing about, that we let them know, and let them know in enough time, not a week before school starts, that this is possibly going to change. And I understand a lot of the reasons for it, and a lot of the reasons make a lot of sense. As Ms. McGann has said and others have said, we have to keep it sustainable. Can't be making, obviously with the exception of IEPs and other situations, we can't be making house stops. It's just not sustainable. But we also, we cannot be putting children on Route 9. We cannot be putting children, parents. It's not just children, it's their parents as well, because they're also walking back and forth on Aldrich and Newton's Corner Road and some of these other busy streets, especially when it's dark in the morning. I'm sorry, right now, September, maybe in the morning, it's okay. Myself, I have a kindergartner, I'm gonna be driving her to the corner, when the weather's not good. It is what it is, I'll deal with it. I'm a big boy, I don't care. But when it's December and it's January and it's 30 degrees and it's dark at 8 a.m., come on, we have to be better than that. We cannot be putting people in danger on busy streets. So I implore us to take another look at some of these stops, make the changes where it is reasonable. I'm not asking people to go down, buses to go down cul-de-sacs in every situation, but as you said, it's not black and white. It really isn't. We need to take another harder look at this, and we need to do a better job, have to do a better job of stressing what is on these agendas. We cannot leave it vague. That's a huge disservice to this community. Thank you for listening.
Mr. Garvin.
The Legislative Advocacy Committee is scheduled to meet at 7 p.m. on September 26th. Just a few comments connected with tonight and what we're talking about. Mr. Thor is chair of the Community Interaction Committee, which meets generally on a monthly basis. This is an ongoing dialogue where the community, all of us as citizens of this community, board members and administrators and staff, we're all engaged in the same common process of trying to see to it that our children are safe and that they are nurtured and have an opportunity to have a good life, and that our school system can help to provide that. To do that, we need help. One thing Mr. Thor is talking about is trying to get more input. The question is, how much time do people have to commit to that? Mr. Giovanni talked about the fact that every one of us can go and look at the agendas ahead of time. We can look at the minutes after the board meetings. And again, I would hope that as fellow citizens of this community, that you take some time to look at what's out there. For example, Mr. Isola talked today about the session on October 3rd, and he talked about the hope that perhaps as many as 100 parents from our community might come out to Brookdale when we talk about wellness, when we talk about bullying, when we talk about all the problems of anxiety and depression and suicide, and what we're doing in the district and what we're trying to work together with as a community to make the lives of our children less stressful and more enriching. So I talked twice about Mr. Thor's committee. I would ask you and ask your neighbors and friends to come out to those committees. And I would hope perhaps that could be a vehicle, and I use that example, where you could have a dialogue of, given the fact that we're so busy making a living and raising our children and handling all the challenges of life, of how we can all contribute together to get the information we need and to give the information. The information you give is priceless. We need to know what's going on and how things are going so that we can improve things. So I really would ask Mr. Thor to perhaps set up a committee meeting and invite members of the community again to talk about how they and we can work together to achieve our common goals. That's basically it.
Thank you. There are a few comments I guess I need to make based on everything we heard. First off, please understand that many of us have gone out to look at Verdun. I didn't say it to begin with. I've certainly gone and I've looked at it. I don't think anybody on this board, I can guarantee that nobody on this board is expecting anybody to have a child walk on Route 9. In terms of that opening there, from there to Conover, again, Mr. Sanisak and other people will look at it and we'll try to see what can be worked out, and we'll also talk to the development. We do appreciate you coming out. We do want to hear what's being said, and we do think it's important, and too often we look up here and there is not a single person in the audience. We all have busy lives. Trust me, I understand that. So do the people here on this board. But without the citizen input, committees were mentioned. I'm going to assume that there are some people who are not aware that our committees are not just 3 board members, 3 citizen members, but our committee meetings are open to anybody in the public, and there are times where people who are not necessarily on one of the committees come to a meeting and they have a voice at that meeting also. We don't just sit there and talk about it and ignore the voices that are there. If you came to, whether it's education, whether it's finance, whether it's operations, if you come to a meeting, trust me, you will have a voice there. Just like we wanted to hear you tonight, we want to hear you then. So, and I have to address social media just a moment. And I understand when we're talking social media that most of us are talking Facebook. The same time that it takes to go onto Facebook and write what may be inaccurate or misleading information is the same time that it would take to go on and look at the committee agendas or the board agendas. Looking at the agenda, looking at Facebook, they're the same thing, except that the committee agendas and the board agendas are always going to be accurate. Some of the things that we see on Facebook may or may not be accurate. May be tilted some in terms of trying to get across somebody's agenda. I understand that. Look, I'm on Facebook all the time. I understand how that happens. I'm just saying that there are ways for you. In terms of the agendas being expanded some, that's actually a conversation we did have at the last board meeting. Mr. Thor brought it up. It was also discussed at our retreat. And we agreed with you last week. And I've had conversations with both with Mr. Sanisak and with Mr. Isola. Mr. President and I haven't really talked about it yet because of the committee that he's with education, but expanding the agendas so that the committee will see more than just transportation issue or bus issue, that we could expand it a little bit more so that instead of reading what somebody chose to put on Facebook, you can look and you can see what the agenda actually is and have an accurate idea of, is this something I want to come and talk about tonight? Is this not something? That podium is always there. It's there twice at every meeting. We appreciate people coming up. Many of us on the board right now, I will tell you, started out by talking at that podium for years before we ever sat here. You're important voices. Share them with us. but share them the right way. Talk to those people who may have some influence over what can happen. Doing it on Facebook isn't the way. I'm going to end my comments there, but thank you very much for coming out tonight. We're glad you came, and trust me, we'll take second looks at all of those issues. Second looks, I'm not guaranteeing that they're all going to be changed, but certainly second looks and see what we can do about them. Thank you very much.
Yes. Discussion items, there are none listed this evening. Were there any, sir? It is now time for the consent agenda. And we were not pulling, right? 313 is back on the agenda after its visit to executive session. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
Second.
Second by Mr. Thor. So, Mr. Miller?
Moved, yes.
Thank you. May I take that around, sir? Please. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Thor?
Yes.
Mr. Garvin?
Yes, with an abstention on 3000-1.
Noted, thank you. Dr. Jeffrey?
Yes.
Dr. Lowe? Oh, she away for a day, so I'm sorry. Mrs. Malley?
Yes.
Mrs. Mangano?
Yes.
Mrs. Oakerson?
Yes.
Dr. Lowe, no. Mr. Giovanni?
Yes, except I recused myself on 3001 and 3009. Thank you.
Thank you. The agenda is approved, 8 votes in favor, none opposed, with the abstentions noted for the record. It is now time for the second public comment, sir. With your permission?
Please.
Whereas the Township Board of Education determines comments from the public may last 45 minutes and will be conducted in accordance with this bylaw 0164.1. Officer with respect to time and decorum will be Mr. Giovanni, the President of the Board. May the floor be open, sir.
Please.
Are there additional comments at this time? Seeing none, sir, may the floor be closed.
Move it.
Second.
The board is adjourned. Thank you very much.